Hello, I'm Dr. Holly Daniels coming to you from Sober College Studios in Los Angeles, California, and this is a mental health moment. A lot of times people come into therapy and they say, I just feel crazy. I can't stop thinking about how angry I am at my sister for telling me I was obnoxious 3 years ago. It was 3 years ago. Why can't I let it go? Or they'll say, I can't stop thinking about my ex. She completely cheated on me and we broke up 2 years ago, but I'm still having conversations in my head telling her how mad I am at her, but how much I still love her and how could she do this to me. I'm even dating someone else now and I want to forget my ex, but I can't. I can't stop my brain from remembering and going over what went wrong. I feel crazy. Well, today I want to be the first to tell anyone who can relate to these stories, you are not crazy. In fact, your brain is actually working in a very normal way, reliving and rethinking all of the negative things that have happened to you. In psychology, we call this phenomenon negative bias. What is negative bias? Well, negative bias refers to the tendency of our brains to look for and focus on what's going wrong or what could go wrong. Negative bias exists because actually our brain is trying to protect us. Think about this. There was a time in human history, and life is still like this in many places in the world, unfortunately, when human beings had to be constantly vigilant in order to stay alive. There was a tiger waiting in the shadows wanting to eat us, or the neighboring tribe could storm in and kill us and our loved ones any minute. And so our brains developed a very keen sense of how to look out for danger. Now, this includes being wary of the unknown, as well as paying attention to negative experiences of the past so that we don't repeat those experiences and get hurt again. Our brains, and I'm talking mostly about our primitive areas of our brain, the reptilian brain, sections of the midbrain and mammalian brain, they're actually wired to always be looking out for danger, to help us avoid pain, to be suspicious. Now, if something scary or hurtful has happened to us in the past, our brains are also going to be using that information to constantly remind us, try to figure out what went wrong in order to avoid the same situation and the pain in the future. Especially if you've experienced a trauma or had abuse in your childhood, had experiences in which you were very hurt and didn't have control over the circumstances, your brain is going to be on even higher alert. Always looking for danger, always ready to jump to the fight, flight, or freeze response. And you may even find yourself suffering from symptoms of PTSD, which we'll cover in another segment. But even if you just had a bad breakup and you experienced a lot of pain from that breakup, your brain is going to ruminate a bit, enlisting the help of our reasoning frontal brains to try to figure out what went wrong, why did I experience this pain, and how can I avoid the pain in the future. So you see, you are not crazy if you're always thinking about what went wrong or what might go wrong. In fact, your brain is working just as it was meant to. Sadly, though, this negative bias does not actually serve us well in our modern age. Most of us are not actually being stalked by a tiger or about to be murdered by a neighboring nation. Most of us in Western society lead relatively safe lives. And we have an opportunity, a relatively new opportunity in the course of human development, to live pretty peaceful, happy existences. The negative bias is actually hindering us in many ways. Here's how the negative bias hurts us today. First, we end up going through life looking for what might go wrong, when there's really nothing wrong. So we're hanging out with friends, we could be having a great time, but our brains are actually constantly thinking about what might go wrong. And so we can't really engage, we can't enjoy ourselves, we can't be at peace. Negative bias hurts and impedes our ability to be in healthy relationship with other people and with life. The second problem is that negative bias actually makes us depressed. It makes us sad, it makes us anxious. It sets up a neurochemical response in our brain and body system that reinforces these feelings of anxiety and depression. And if we're not careful, we can become chronically anxious and depressed when we really don't need to be, because the danger and the hurt we keep worrying about or trying to figure out isn't actually happening in the present moment and may not ever happen. So in dealing with negative bias, the first step is to realize that it exists, to realize it is a biological function of your brain, and not beat yourself up for the fact that your brain is always on the lookout for what's going wrong. We don't want to add more negativity to the negative bias, right? It's not helpful to beat yourself up for thinking in a negative way, to judge yourself for feeling negative. Why can't I stop worrying? I'm such an idiot. No, you're just supporting the negative bias. This first step is simply to notice the negative bias. Notice your thoughts and corresponding emotions and not judge them. realize that they're here. We want to be compassionate with our negative bias, with our brains, just like your heart beats, your lungs breathe, your brain thinks. And it's that part of your body that's always going to be looking for what's scary. It's going to be trying to keep you safe. It's not personal, right? It's simply your brain's function. You can even say to yourself, wow, I notice I'm being negative right now. I realize I'm reliving the past. I'm worrying about the future, but that's natural. Take some deep breaths, slow yourself down, slow down those more primitive automatic response systems, and use your wise mind as the compassionate observer, saying to your brain, hey brain, I know you're just trying to keep me safe. I know you're just trying to keep me from feeling pain, but brain, slow down a bit. I am safe. I have good people around me. I have a roof over my head and food on my table, and I'm okay. Thank you, brain, for being so vigilant. But I got this. You don't need to be so worried all the time. You can calm down a bit. And we can help our own brains calm down by practicing meditation and some breathing exercises. This is a mindfulness technique, which you can learn more about in our mental health moment on mindfulness. The second thing we need to do to deal with our negative bias is to create and maintain ways of being that can help us feel safe and focus on what's going right. You know, some people say, Holly, even when things go right, I can't enjoy it. I can't even enjoy it for a minute because I know the other shoe is going to drop. I know something else bad is on the horizon. So even when good things happen, I can't enjoy them. Well, this is a sure sign that the negative bias is in full control. One thing the brain fears the most is the unknown. So if you're not familiar with feeling good and celebrating what's going right, those positive feelings are unknown and they're actually worrisome to your brain. Feeling good can actually trigger the negative bias to go into hyperdrive. So what do we do about that? Well, we have to find ways to practice feeling good. We have to first identify what's going well. I often have people write gratitude lists so that they can see on paper all of the good things and good people in their lives for which they can be grateful. Then we have to practice feeling good by going over our gratitude lists and making ourselves celebrate when things go well, sharing good feelings with our friends and loved ones, and literally practice feeling good. We can say to ourselves, I'm practicing feeling calm. I'm learning what it's like to feel positive. I want this good feeling to be an experience that I'm familiar with. We'll share more techniques too about how to create a positive bias in the brain in another mental health moment coming up soon. I hope that this helped with your understanding of the negative bias and ways you can work with your brain to stop focusing on what's wrong. As always, we'd love to hear your questions and comments, so please send us an email to the address on the screen. I'm Dr. Holly Daniels, wishing you all health and happiness.